If you copy information from an external source, for example, an internet site or from a Word file, many times when you paste it into Excel, particularly if it's numerical data, it often comes in the form of a table or it comes in neatly structured into columns and rows. But text information sometimes comes in one cell. Now, let's imagine that the particular item that we see here in cell B17, which is quite long, maybe is to accompany some data above it or some data we're about to put in here. But in its current form, we can't read it all, and it would be better if we could somehow restructure it. There is a way to do this, and you want to experiment with it a little bit. Let's imagine that this long entry here, we'd like to have it essentially rewrap and fit into a space maybe only this wide. And what we can't fit here, have it appear below in separate rows. So select the data in question, and on the Home tab in the extreme right group called Editing, there's a Fill button. Click the drop arrow and choose Justify. And this is the typical message we get. Text will extend below the selected range. Now, if there's data right below this, you want to be a little bit careful with this. Of course, we'll be able to undo if that's an issue, but it might overlap or take away some of that data. Let's click OK here and watch what happens. So we've rewrapped the text in question. Now, maybe that isn't quite what we wanted. Well, we could either undo or just take this data here and say, well, what I really want to do here maybe is make column B wider and make it fit right here. In other words, take this data and extend it down here somewhere. So it doesn't make any difference what you highlight really. What if we were to just take this information here, and now by not highlighting columns into the right, let's restructure this again using that same command in the Editing group on the Home tab, Fill, Justify. And we see the data this way. So you want to experiment with a little bit. If the data does look like this and you say, well, I'd rather have it just a few rows, explore the option of making columns wider first, or just saying in effect, I'd like to restructure this data and make it fit into this space. How about right there? Fill, Justify. And we see what's happening. So it's worth experimenting with. Certainly saves us a ton of time. Instead of copying and then editing and pasting and all that sort of thing, this is going to get the job done pretty fast. Fill, Justify in the Editing group on the Home tab.